Welcome to Inspire Campfire, a podcast where ordinary people tell their stories of extraordinary adventure. These are campfire stories meant to inspire the rest of us to light the fire within, get outside, follow our dreams, and return to tell our own stories. Ready? Let's strike the match.
Welcome to the show. I am your host, Scott Wurzbacher, and today we have a very special guest with us. This is a young person who's had a lifetime of adventure experience in a very short period of time. She has been gifted with some amazing opportunities for growth, which were then very quickly tested in the worst of ways. Iona Somerville is a 21-year-old from Edinburgh, Scotland. Her story begins in high school with the Polar Academy, an unbelievable organization that's helping teenagers struggling with self-esteem to redefine their physical and mental limits. Iona has done just that. And while she's already accomplished so much, she's just getting started. And I am so excited to continue to follow her journey. Iona, I want to welcome you to the campfire.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is so good to be on this call with you and to hear more about your story. I want to start with the Polar Academy. I'm sure many of our listeners, it's an organization that got started in Scotland. And many of our listeners being in the US, I'd love for you to give us a background. Before we do that, though, could you tell us just a little bit about Iona before you became introduced to the Polar Academy?
So I was a very, very shy kid. I was the sort of kid that would let their mom talk for them, not really much confidence in myself. There was a few family stuff that had happened, a bit of bullying in high school from that transition from primary school to high school. I really just lost all my confidence, my self-esteem. I just got on with my work in high school and, was under the radar of the teachers. And that was pretty much me before the Polar Academy.
Yeah. So in the description of kind of the mission of the Polar Academy, it basically says that they identify teens that essentially they deem to be invisible.
Yeah.
Iona, did you feel invisible before the Polar Academy?
Yeah, that was pretty much the definition. He uses that word not because he's created it, but because the kids in this section of the school group, that's what they call themselves, invisible.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was hard. I had many dreams and aspirations and things like that, but I just never had the confidence to go and do them or push myself outside my comfort zone. And there was no one that, obviously my parents are very supportive, but there's no one in the outside world that really believed in you because the teachers were too distracted by the kids misbehaving or, there was no one to really focus their time on you and give you that little bit of confidence just to push yourself.
Yeah. So then along comes the Polar Academy. So can you tell us how that all sort of went down?
So I got asked, we have guidance teachers over here in Scotland. They basically help you out with many things, but my guidance teacher selected me to be one of the pupils that see Craig and go to a meeting with Craig to hear about what he does and potentially sign up for the team, to be maybe selected, maybe not.
So kind of an informational session. You were invited to see what it's all about.
My parents. Yeah.
So can you share with us, for the listeners, can you tell us about the Polar Academy?
Yeah, so the Polar Academy was founded and created by Craig Matheson, who's an explorer that's been to the North Pole, South Pole. But he created this charity he's done lots of speaking around the world to schools, and he found this invisible group, in the schools, and he found the same thing, that they're just going under the radar. So he created the Polar Academy specifically for this group of kids to train them up for a year. I think it's been dubbed now the toughest training program in Europe. So he's pretty pleased with that. He trains them up, tire hauling, high intensity training, kids from no fitness to extreme fitness. And then he takes them on a 10-day expedition with a few guides, but the actual fact is the kids take the guides on the expedition. It's not a school trip.
The kids
It's,
take the guides.
Yeah. The kids lead the expedition. So it's put all in the kids' hands. And we do a 10-day expedition in Greenland, skiing, hauling, up glaciers, up mountains, across the sea ice. Yeah, it's incredible. And then this is all for free too. The kids don't have to pay a penny.
In this 10-day expedition, I mean, this isn't like a protected summer camp where there's counselors keeping you guys out of trouble. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the expedition itself?
So the expedition itself, so the kids are setting up their own camps, so tents, their own polar bear fence, because obviously polar bears up in Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
They're leading the way. It's all down to the kids, and you're doing your own stoves. The guides are only there just to make sure you're safe and things like that. But you're doing all of it by yourself as a 15-year-old kid.
And what kind of temperatures is this expedition? What kind of temperatures are you dealing with?
My expedition was around, I think the highest it got was -5 during the day.
The highest it got was -5.
Yeah, it was -5. So it got to around -20 at night. So yeah, pretty cold.
I mean, seriously amazing. I mean, what a life-changing experience. So, we'll talk about like how that impacted you, but I'm curious about that first information session when you're like kind of first learning about. Did you know about the Polar Academy before that sort of information session? So you're shaking your head no. So what? So what did that first information session sort of do to you?
I mean, it just sort of like, I've seen these kids, like obviously I was on the second team of the Polar Academy.
Mm-hmm.
So he had already taken a team up the year before. And I've seen these kids go from, not smiling in photos, very withdrawn, to when they were in Greenland. I think it was Morgan. There's a photo of Morgan, and she is, her smile is just incredible. She's went from this kid that's being so shy to kids being able to talk to their peers about their story. And I was just like, I just connected with that massively. I was like, I've got no confidence in myself. I need something to push me, and I've always had something that's like, right, you need to do this. And that was it. It's like a call, really. In a spiritual way, it was like a call.
Yes. And now so can you tell us a little bit about that call? Like, was it a feeling? Was it what was that calling?
I think it was just it was completely out of my comfort zone. I had never camped. I'd never skied. I'd never really been in cold places. Edinburgh is not really a cold place, even though it's in Scotland. Doesn't really get much snow. It was completely out of my comfort zone, and it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. You're never going to get the chance to go to Greenland again. So yeah, I think because I was going through such a tough period at that time, I was just like, I need something to just grab onto.
I mean, did you feel like something inside of you, like wanting to just sort of like just bust out and just embrace this opportunity and just go after it?
Yeah, it was like a focus off of school, focus off of family life, and it was like something that I wanted to do and really push myself for.
Yeah. Really unbelievable. So, you got to take part obviously in the decision. This was not like, this wasn't like you weren't forced to go. This was something that you did because you chose to.
Yeah.
Right. So
I put my name on his notebook. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you experience, like, during the decision-making process, like, was there any doubt in your mind about whether or not this was something that you should do, you could do? And can you talk about that, some of those fears and doubts that you experienced?
Massively. I mean, I would, my number one biggest enemy, like, you know, how could I ever do this? Um, I was just, I remember always being so happy to be even selected to go to this information night, you know? I was happy about that. So even if I didn't get any further, I would have been chuffed with that, you know? So um there was massive doubts in my head that, but I didn't really think about that because I didn't think I was ever going to get picked for the expedition.
Wow. Didn't think you were going to get picked.
Never, never.
Yeah. So you're experiencing all these fears and all these doubts, but there was still something inside of you that was calling you to just continue to push forward. So
Yeah.
what do you feel like it was that kind of pushed you past that fear and the doubt?
It's probably Craig himself.
Mm,
Probably the way he spoke and, you know, how he came across, and I think probably that connection to the first team, you know, their stories and how they were before this expedition really connected to how I was in that part of my life.
yeah.
Just really not confident and shy.
And so what I'm hearing is Craig, I mean, obviously acted as a mentor to you, but it almost sounds like he kind of had a belief in you that you didn't yet have in yourself,
Yeah,
and that gave you the confidence to just trust and take the next step.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you get selected. So first of all, let's just talk about that just for a second, because you just said you didn't even think you were going to get picked. So what was that
Mhm.
like when you did actually get picked?
So even before I got picked for the expedition team, there's a selection weekend
Hmm.
um, that you have to go through. So it's like um, canoeing, rock climbing, and one of the parts is um, you sit in a kayak, strapped you into the kayak with a, I don't know what you call them, and then he shows you how to tie three knots with a bit of rope, and then he says, "Right, I'm going to flip you over." So you're stuck in this kayak upside down, and you have to tie these three knots before you come back up.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's the selection weekend. But it's not just me that has to do that, it's the parents as well, because it has to, if the kid is going to do something, the parents have to be there too and do it.
Wow. Your parents had to do all this stuff too.
So it was just my stepdad came up with me for that
Wow.
weekend,
Okay.
and yeah, he had to do it as well. He had to do all the activities because at the end of the day, if you've got a parent looking at the child and saying, "Wow, they can do that," and then you've got the child looking at the parent saying, "Wow, they can do that," and you've got that support and you've got that belief in each other.
What an unbelievable experience.
So yeah, we done that selection weekend.
Yeah.
Um, And then obviously you don't know after that. It's a couple of weeks until you find out if you're on the expedition team or you're on the sort of the reserve team. This yeah, the other team. That if anyone for the expedition team gets injured or things like that, there's reserves there too.
So I mean, it was almost kind of like a tryout.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
he's
so
not picking the best kids. He's not picking the best ones. He's picking ones that you know are trying their hardest and you know that don't think they can do anything, but actually they're pushing themselves outside their
he
zone,
wants to help, and he wants to pick the
Yeah,
people that he feels like most can use this help, and this is amazing.
yeah.
So take me through that when you found out that you were selected.
It was a bit of shock, you know. I never believed that I would ever get this far, never mind get selected for the expedition team. So um, I think it wasn't until I told my mum that it really hit me because she was just in total shock and um, proud obviously, but she was like, how, like, how has this happened within the space of a few months? I'm
Yeah.
going to Greenland.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, once you're, like, kind of given that opportunity and given that honor, like, does it take on sort of like a sense of duty and a sense of responsibility? Like, because you were selected now, like, you owe it to Craig, you owe it to yourself to really give it your best.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you I guess, a sense of purpose. Like you got something to work towards rather than, I wasn't the best academically or the best physically, but it gave me something to work towards, and I needed that other focus to really drive me, and that's what the Polar Academy gave me.
That's wow. So what were one or two of the like really the hardest things that you had to overcome like during either the training or the expedition itself?
Um, I reckon for the training, the tire hauling,
Tire
um,
Holland.
not physically but mentally. You're tire hauling on St Andrew's Beach up and down for hours at a time. Like it's pretty tedious, but it's mentally you're constantly pushing yourself. Um,
And
uh,
there's video. I think I saw a video on Polar Academy's website of you guys. So you're essentially hiking along with your trekking poles, and you're roped to a tire, and you're just dragging the
yeah,
tire.
yeah, all day. Yeah,
Yeah.
for some of the trails we go on is about 25 to 30 kilometers.
Wow.
You do that dragging the tire, so
Yeah. Okay.
it's great physically.
So then the expedition itself, what was kind of the
Mhm.
hardest thing about the expedition?
The hardest thing for me was I had an injury, but that wasn't the hardest part. It was just a bit pain.
Hmm.
But I think mentally having to ask for help, with the pain, asking my teammates to take some stuff out my sledge, and that was really difficult for me. Um, Understanding that for the team, it's better to give them my stuff
Yeah.
rather than slowing them down and things like
Why is that so hard asking for help? So you're injured. Clearly you need help.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think because I was so determined to just get on with things and, do it myself, but you're not strong in that way. You need others to help you along the process. Everybody, I think in this day and age as well, you're sort of competing against everybody. But in actual fact, if you've got the right people around you and the sort of right mindset around you, then asking people for the help
Yeah.
can make it easier for one, but
Right.
also make you stronger too.
We're stronger together for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So you've been through this amazing experience, and you started out lacking confidence. So what
yeah.
happened?
What
How did?
happened? Again, it's really the the physical side. Again, you're just pushing yourself. You keep going for 10 days. You're seeing the northern lights. You're climbing up glaciers. You're you know pushing yourself you never thought you could do. But I think for me mentally, it was time for self-reflection and, really that simplicity of putting one foot in front of another, that
Yeah.
really cleared my mind of a lot of things.
And so what did you find out about yourself that has changed?
I think now my mindset sort of, um, you know, I've climbed a glacier, so I can take that job interview.
Yeah.
I've, you know, I've I've um I've been through so much pain with my knee, I can get through this talk, or I can get through, it's I don't know what really happens to the mindset out in nature, and I think there's so much research that should go into it. But there's something about the connection to nature and the mind that really um makes you stronger and changes your mindset a lot
Mhm.
for the better, for the positive.
Yeah. So one of the things I read about the Polar Academy is that when you're finished, you are then expected to come back and speak to groups and,
Yeah,
take part in the inspiration of other people. So can you
yeah.
talk about that, your experience of like what was it like to come back and share your story with others?
It was nerve-wracking to start with. I can't lie. It was a bit um I was nervous because it's to people your own age, and when you're a teenager, you're like, I can't do this. But again, it's using that mindset of, you know what, I pushed myself outside my comfort zone with Greenland. I can do this. It's having that I can do this mindset, and I will do this. And you can't really go wrong. It's your own story, you know. And that's what got me through the talks when I was 15.
15 years old, and
Mhm.
how many kids are you speaking to? How in your when you returned, how many kids did you have to speak to at any given time?
I think in total it was maybe around 2,000 kids. The schools I went to, 2,000 kids around that.
2,000 kids. You're 15 years old and you're talking in front of 2,000 kids.
Yeah, and on the radio and TV, and yeah, things like that. It's crazy.
That's amazing. Public speaking is probably I've heard it said that people fear public speaking more than they fear death.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just tackled that fear at 15 years old. It's wow.
Yeah.
So and to kind of watch your trajectory and to see the things that are beginning to unfold for you since those
Mhm.
experiences. I mean, what is that like for you, Iona?
It was it was just I'm not very much I'm not the person that is very look at themselves and like I'm really proud of myself. I'm never really like that. But to see from where I was and how I was talking to people and
Yeah.
not letting my mum talk for me how I used to be, that was
No,
the
not
biggest change
anymore.
I'd
Not,
seen.
not
Yeah, that was
anymore.
the biggest change I've probably seen in myself. So yeah, just seeing that, not seeing the confidence, but actually doing stuff that I wanted to do.
Yeah. Okay, so I know we're going to shift gears a little bit because we got a lot
Mhm.
of things to talk about. So you went through this life-changing experience. You're a teenager struggling with self-esteem, and you go through this just game-changing experience, and you've come back and you've built this whole new set of confidence and ready to just take on the world.
Yeah.
And you were tested. You had another very unexpected experience that tested
Mhm.
you and tested this new confidence. Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what happened in Manchester?
So yeah, Manchester 2017, I was in the Ariana Grande concert that was attacked. Um, so I was very close to where the bomb went off. It thankfully not physically injured, but I like obviously mentally, I've been through a lot over the last 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we were talking the other day, you had shared with me that, I mean, you were there was a bomb that went off at the Ariana
Mhm.
Grande concert, and I think you were in the stairwell when it happened. But I read
Yeah.
something online that you guys um, opted to stay in your seats for like 30 seconds longer at the
Yeah.
end of the concert, something like that, and that had you gotten up a little bit sooner, you could have been right there
Yeah.
in the middle of it.
We would have been right in the middle of where the bomb went off if
Yeah.
we left 30 seconds earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw a lot of things that obviously were incredibly traumatic, and
Yeah.
it tested this newfound confidence that you had.
Yeah. It tested, I went into a deep dark place after Manchester. It was I think I've used this quote before, but like going into a concert and then coming out into a war zone. That was pretty much what had happened,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. So I realized that, there was a lot of healing that you had to do through that process, but I'm just curious, like, as you think about like your experience in the Polar Academy and how that training and how that experience helped you to get through this couple of years of healing that you had to go through from this trauma in Manchester. Can you talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah, of course. So Craig was always there to support me from a few days after Manchester. He was right there in the Polar Academy, he was right there. And I think just having the mental resilience that I gained from the Polar Academy, from the expedition, from the training, from the talks, it really, you know, gave me something to cling on to and hold on to when I was going through this healing process. And I always sort of look back to, you know, back to Greenland, and I always remember one of the nights I was in my sleeping bag, half out the tent, just looking up at the northern lights. And that memory always stuck with me when I was really going through the dark place. And I always remembered that, you know, life is beautiful. And yes, I've been through a traumatic thing, but you know, there's other sides of life too. And it's holding on to that beauty of the world.
Yeah. The Northern Lights. Yeah, I can't say that I've seen them. It's on the bucket
Mhm.
list for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's pretty special that you had that opportunity and that helped you get through the experience that you were getting through. So I'm curious, like, as you were going through your healing, I got to
mhm,
believe that you're thinking back on some of the hard things that you had to go through during the Polar Academy, and being able to tap those things to give yourself those
yeah,
reminders that
yeah,
that you were able to tackle those experiences, and this is just another example.
yeah. It was exactly like that, and it was, you know, using the little bit of confidence I still had in myself to ask for help, um, to use that, and you know, get therapy, um, and understand that, you know, you're gonna go through a tough process right now, but you can get to the other end, and there'll be light, you know.
Yeah. Wow. A couple of big life events that have really set the trajectory for you. And
Yeah,
that sort of brings us to the next phase, which is a big mission that you've got
yeah,
and you're getting ready for. And
yeah,
if I can just kind of introduce that,
of
because
course.
you and I know each other through Karen Dark, who was on this podcast for episode 7. And Karen Dark's Quest 79, she has a mission to do 9 different rides on 7 different continents. And you are going to accompany her on the last of those 9 rides. Can you tell us about that journey that you guys have set up?
Yeah, so we are creating the Polar Possibility in Antarctica in December 2022. We are going to do the last 2 degrees to the South Pole. Karen's going to sit ski. I am going to haul and, you know, ski myself. And we are doing it to show people that through both our stories, and trauma, and no matter what walk of life you come from, you can, you know, achieve anything that you want to if you just put your mind to it and find that inner gold.
Yeah. So the pole of possibility, can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I think it's a great um thing Karen's come up with, the polar possibility. Um, you know, there's endless possibilities for anyone, and we just hope to bring and share um our sort of, again, like I say, journeys from what we've both been through. You know, Karen's story is incredible in itself,
It is.
and using them will hopefully show people that anything's possible.
Yeah. So, did you ever imagine when you're 15 years old that you're going to be traveling with somebody like Karen Dark to the South Pole?
Never, never, never in a million years.
Yeah, and I think you were telling me when we first spoke that this is all happening. It's happening in December, and
Mhm.
when you guys are done, there will be a couple of world firsts and Guinness records. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about that?
So it'll be the world's first female to sit ski to the South Pole, and there will be a Guinness World Record for the furthest person to sit ski to the South Pole.
That's amazing. And I know you guys are going to
So it's
do it. You guys
incredible.
are determined and you guys have
Yeah.
been training for it. So what are you guys doing to train for this?
So we've just been in Norway
Hmm.
at the start of January. We've spent 5 days out there just practicing our skiing. And then we're out in Norway again the end of February, March time. We are going to do like a 5 day sort of expedition out there, practice our camping skills and in the cold. Um, and for myself, I'm tire hauling, hiking, just getting in any sort of cardiovascular weights, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're going to be watching that. The Pole of Possibility is an amazing expedition that you guys are doing. I'm excited for Karen to finish her Quest 79 adventure,
Be incredible.
and all of this is just so inspiring. Both of you guys just have such amazing stories, and I'm just grateful to know you both. So you've got one more really exciting thing that's happened for you in the last 2 months. You have been accepted into the Explorers Club.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been incredible. I actually found out February that I was in it and accepted in it. So um it's been incredible
Yeah,
knowing
so
that.
for those that don't know about the Explorers Club, can you tell us what the Explorers Club is? A little bit of history, a little bit of the background, because this is a
Um
huge, huge honor for you.
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
So the Explorers Club um set up in New York. Their main headquarters are in New York. And you've had many explorers over the years, um and people that bring sort of science things into it. So like President Roosevelt is in the Explorers Club, um, Elon Musk, Buzz Aldrin. I mean, incredible, incredible people like that. Um, and it's basically a club set up, um, not for what people have done, but why they do it.
yes.
Um, for the science, for one, because of climate change, it's a massive topic,
Hmm.
but also to inspire. I mean, their big thing just now is to inspire the youth into exploration, because they're sort of losing that at the moment, especially with COVID. Everybody's being shut in, so it's about bringing the youth and things together and
Yeah.
inspiring others.
Yeah, and so when you went to basically accept the membership into the organization, I
Hmm.
read online that I think you had to give a speech.
Oh, that was so. I had applied months before, but the Explorers Club actually asked me to do a talk in London
Yeah.
on the HQS Wellington, which is Shackleton's granddaughter's ship.
Wow.
Um, so they asked me to speak there, and it's where I got a medal from the Explorers Club, the Great Britain chapter.
So how many people were you delivering that talk to?
I think it was maybe 100 to 200 people.
100 to 200 people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I mean, the gravity of this is it's incredible. Like when when you think about how this all started, you're a 15-year-old getting accepted into the Polar Academy, and now you're,
Mhm.
being inducted into the Explorers Club. You're talking to huge groups of people. I think,
Yeah,
and then you're doing this expedition so aptly named the Pole of Possibility, because you
yeah,
are such a shining example of possibility and such a huge inspiration to people that frankly, maybe in the same place that you were at age 15,
yeah,
lacking confidence and just needing somebody to believe in them. And I just have to say, like, what an amazing man Craig Matheson is for
yeah,
starting this organization and for mentoring you along. And look, the Explorers Club is so lucky to have you, because I know that you're gonna make them proud and continue to, already have, but gonna continue to shine. And it's just such a wonderful thing that you guys are doing. Um, I want to ask you, like, and I'm sure you've spoken about this in many of the talks that you've given, but for
uh,
people that are listening that maybe are suffering with a lack of self-confidence, or,
mhm.
just could never imagine doing the kinds of things that you've now done. I know you've been in that place before. Like, what advice do you have for those people that, are doubting themselves?
I think it's all about taking small steps. I know I've done, Greenland is maybe a massive thing for certain people, but it's literally, I mean, for me coming back from Manchester, it's literally about learning how to be okay sitting on the bus again, being in crowded places. It's about, maybe applying for that job that you maybe wouldn't have applied for. It doesn't have to be, I think people put this big pressure on themselves that they have to change their life completely, and it doesn't just happen like that. For some people, they're very lucky it happens like that, but for the majority of us, it takes time and a lot of small steps before you can take the big ones. And I think just knowing that sometimes you have to take that risk, and sometimes you have to push yourself. And I think it's give yourself time, take small steps, and push yourself when you need to, when you think it's the right time.
Yeah. It's the small steps. That's what I'm hearing you say. It's not jumping into something huge. It's just it's the steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What an incredible story. I cannot wait. I'm going to have to get you and Karen back after you guys
Yeah,
have
of course.
made it to the pole of possibility, created the pole of possibility. You're going to have to come back and share how that story all plays out, because I know that's just going to be a whole nother epic journey. So Iona, couple questions that I've asked everybody that's come on this podcast, because when this is all said and done, at some point they're going to make a movie about your life. And I want to know who the Hollywood actor is going to be that's going to play you in that story.
Oh, see, I was thinking about this question, and I don't want a proper, I want an animated movie. And it would have to be
Nice. Okay.
the actress that played, I don't know if you've ever seen Brave, the movie.
Yes,
Who plays
absolutely.
Merida.
Oh,
the actress that plays Merida.
That's a great movie.
That's the one.
I love that. Okay. All right. That's awesome. That was a great movie. We watched that with our kids, and she is brave indeed. You are very courageous, and you are very brave. And I think that's a very, very fitting choice. So I want to see that movie for sure. Iona, what's the movie going to be called?
Oh, I have to go with the Polar Academy. I use it all the time. Polar Academy slogan: inspiration through exploration.
Inspiration through exploration. That's fabulous. Oh, so good. Well, thank you so much. There are all kinds of ways that people can follow you and Karen, and we'll be sure to post that in the show notes. Quest79.com is one of those ways. Any other ways that we should point the listeners to find you and Karen and your Pole of Possibility journey?
I'm on Facebook, and I know Karen's on Facebook too. So I'm just Iona Somerville Pole of Possibility, and I know Karen Dart's got a page on Facebook, just her name. So great. Yeah, we'll be putting updates on there throughout the year of what we're up to and where we're at. So, yeah.
Thank you, Iona. Thank you so much. I am feeling hugely inspired by your story. And to those listening, I hope you've been inspired today as much as I have. I hope that Iona's story has encouraged you to truly listen to that voice inside that calls you to adventure, because we want to hear your story next. If you have a story to tell or need a nudge to create one, please send me an email. And until next time, I want to encourage you to get outside. Thank you for listening. Iona, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.